Laura, if you could go ahead and end that music. We will be recording. Let's go ahead and begin the webinar regarding quality management for medical devices in today's new world. If we could get that slide advanced. All right, for our agenda, I'll start out with just a couple of brief introductions. Darcy Sheerin of Dassault Systems will lead us into quality management. I'll share some insights about persistent systems. We'll then open up for Q&A. Please type out your questions in the chat box and I'll moderate them all at the end of the presentation. Darcy will be the main presenter today. I have the easy job of moderating and I will highlight persistent. Darcy has an extensive background in real-world quality applications. She's worked directly for some of the largest medical organizations around the world. She is truly an expert in relationship to medical device. She has been the subject matter expert of product development and the digitalization of regulatory compliance, utilizing the best-in-class technologies and various applications related to medical industry. I'm honored to work with you today, Darcy. I too have industry recognition with over 15 years of experience in technology. I've authored white papers, have contributed to many manufacturing processes. I work with companies large and small, with IT, engineering and manufacturing staff and roles of all levels for industries such as medical, high tech, and others. And now, with introductions complete, we'll kick off the core presentation. Darcy, go ahead and I'll turn things over to you.
Thank you, thank you for that warm introduction. We're going to be talking about quality today, and it's kind of a touchy subject, especially nowadays. Quality issues are rightly a concern of every stakeholder within the medical device value chain, from manufacturing to regulatories to payers to doctors to patients. The media attention has increased and investors have severely punished some of the companies with quality issues, from the negative press that you receive to the damage to the brand in itself. So faulty medical devices not only endanger patient lives, they can also mean death of your organization. A medical device manufacturer experiences an average of a 10% drop in share price after a single or a major product recall, according to most studies. So with that being said, how are we going to do that? Well, we've partnered with a lot of companies and purchased a lot of companies, but what we've done is we've kind of built this revolution. We have a proven track record that what we do is purposeful and meaningful within industries. Industries today would not be what they are without Dassault Systems. We have deeply influenced every industry, from medical devices all the way through aerospace. We've started off with 3D designs. We've gone into a 3D DMUs. We've gone into the PLM or 3D PLM and a 3D experience platform. And now we're working on the virtual twin. And I'll show you today and explain to you a little bit more today on how that's going to also impact industries today as well as your quality. So how we done all this? We look at things a little bit differently. We look at all the industries as a whole. We also look at the experiences that not only the users have, but your customers have. And we want to make sure that it's something that everyone enjoys, or we make the experience as delightful as possible. Basically, we really want to streamline the processes to be able to innovate and to be able to bring the next generation products to the market. How we do that is that we have 13 different brands within our organizations, and this helps us and enables us to give tools to 11 different industries across the board. And to keep that all organized and streamlined, we use what we call the compass. And that kind of guides our users to the tools that they need to do to perform whatever job that they want to perform or deliver on whatever task that they want to deliver on. So everything is kind of built on this 3D experience platform, and it's basically knowledge and know-how. It is a game changer for every industry that adopts this, because on this platform, not only do you have all the tools that you need to perform your job and to be able to innovate and do what you need to do, but you also have ways of sharing your ideas, of sharing what's going on with outside of your organization, what's going on in the marketplace for your particular industry. It's also a way of making sure that there's complete communication and collaboration throughout the whole organization, no matter if it's just local or global. One of the other things that we also have, again, going from our 3D compass, is a way of modeling this. So we have a lot of applications in which you can do different modeling, and most people are familiar with SolidWorks. And so you can build your 3D models here. You can reuse parts. You can um, make sure that you have the right pieces in the right places at the right time. You can share these ideas and you can collaborate on these ideas. We also want to make sure that the part that you've chosen or you've drawn out or you're designing is going to work within the whole system that you're putting together or the whole product as one. We also want to make sure that it meets the requirements of the end user so that it is um, working as it is supposed to work or as it is intended. So we have these simulation applications in which you can simulate your product in use by different users or however you need to do that, as well as simulate manufacturing it, as well as simulate adverse events and how you're going to mitigate it so that it doesn't happen again. We also want to make sure that you don't work within a bubble and you don't stay within that bubble, that you're completely aware of what's going on within the organization itself, as well as outside the organization within the market itself. So that way, as you're designing these things, because sometimes these take years to do, you're keeping up with what the market is demanding and you're making sure that you're designing those things in. You're also keeping up with what's going on within your organization. You're completely aware of different events that are happening within your organization, be it a complaint type of an event or be it a positive event that we want to be able to reuse or mimic. You also want to make sure that all of this stuff is organized and trackable and traceable, and that you always have a way of making changes to something that you need to make changes to, as well as completely being aware of what the whole project as a whole is doing and how we're tracking and where we're tracking. And then I mean, medical devices is one of the highest regulated companies out there, or industries out there. We want to have full traceability and trackability of everything we do. So we have also different tools in our toolbox to help you do all that. So as I keep talking about these tools in our toolbox, I want to make sure that we understand that quality is something that no matter what you're building, no matter what you're innovating or designing, it is something that needs to be a part of the whole process from the concept all the way to post-launch or retirement of your product. So no matter what you're doing, you want to make sure, and I hate to use the word because I think it's overused a lot of time, you're designing in quality. This is something that should just come naturally across the board with the whole organization and in everybody within every department. So with that being said, if you think about it from your concept to your regulatory, to your manufacturing, to your commercialization, and if you've got suppliers involved, to all your suppliers, we want to make sure that we're all on the same page at all times and that we are all working to making the highest quality product that's possible. So how are we going to do that and how are we still going to get to the market in time or first, or, making sure that we stay competitive. We want to make sure that we have data and that we drive the quality processes with this data. And it's got to be good data. It can't be, what happened last year. It's got to be real-time data that we can make intelligent decisions from. We also need to make sure that we go from correcting things, or what I like to refer to, we go from defense to offense. We want to make sure that we're predicting some of the quality issues that we may or may not have and preventing them right or mitigating them right from the beginning so that we're not in that reactive mode. We can use a lot of the data that's already out there, is as long as it's compiled correctly. It's like, yeah, you can use this and that, but if you can't even find it on your desktop, how are you going to reuse it, or how are you going to understand it? We got to make sure that we have the tools in place to gather that data, to gather good data, and to make sure it's organized so that we can make those decisions from that. And one of the concepts that's out there today that, even the FDA is kind of is looking at and is excited about, um, is this thing called the digital twin, or some sort of augmented twin of what you're doing. And it really is something that could be an incredibly valuable tool to medical device organizations. And so I want to kind of touch on that a little bit today, on how we can do that and bring that to life. So we've talked a lot already about different types of tools and um, things that we have and we need to be able to use. So I just at a very high level want to talk about some of the common tools that we offer on the 3D Experience platform, and how they're used. And this all is going to be put together and be put into more of a larger toolbox so that you have everything you need at your fingertips to handle any events that come up or to prevent events from coming up. So let's first talk about your customer. Most of your customers, if you're in the medical device world, are going to be physicians. And with that being said, though, it's kind of tongue in cheek because they're not always doing the purchasing. They may be doing the recommendations, and hopefully they're your friend and family within a hospital, who then you have to deal with the purchasing departments and so on and so forth. But once you get in there, you can establish this ownership, in which when they say, if you're developing a stent, I want any old stent, the staff knows, hey, they're going to grab this stent because it's Dr. So and so, and that's his favorite. Um, they're going to be able to talk about that, and they're going to have a loyalty moment in which now they're on the podium talking at TCT or some other, or ACC or someplace else, and they're going to talk about how great this stent is and how it got them out of this jam or that jam. But if it didn't, and it didn't deploy correctly, or something happened, then you also run into the issue of that lost loyalty. Um, and those tend to spread faster than your positive loyalty. So we want to make sure that we handle those right away. Not only do we have to handle those right away for the regulatory bodies, but we want to make sure we handle them right away for our customer and ultimately for the patients. So our complete management tool is something in which you can deploy to your CHU department, or you can deploy to your Salesforce, or however you want to do it, so that they can look at the templates, and they can gather the information that's needed in order to handle this. They can also make sure that if this is a product that's going to be sent back and it's contaminated, or whatever, that it can be handled correctly in an appropriate manner once it's received within the organization. Um, and it also sets it up so that we get reminders to send those follow-ups, to make sure that everybody is aware of what's going on, what the complaint is, when it came in, and how it's being handled. And there's also a way to triage this complaint so that we can send it on to the appropriate person. Is this something that really needs to go on to the regulatory team? Yeah, because we answered yes, no, or we're not sure to a couple of questions. Or is this something that, you know what, we've got 5 of them in already. and they've already gone into CAPA, so we're just going to add that to there so that when it gets resolved, everybody gets resolved and we can close it out. Or if it's a duplicate, or if it's something that, really not a complaint, they just didn't like the color of our box. I'm sorry, but, maybe next generation will take that into consideration and change the color of our boxes. Um, so it's something that has everything right then and there. It's all on the platform. So all the information is there. It's readily available. And some of it can be actually automatically filled in for you as you go through the process. I'm going to, because of the timing, I'm going to just pull through a little bit just so you can see a couple of screenshots on a couple of other things. Um, but this is definitely something we could go more into detail with at any point in time if you'd like to. But you can see here, everything's associated together, and there could be tasks assigned and deliverables done on those tasks. One of the other things that we're going to need to be able to handle is not everything comes in is going to be considered a complaint. It could be considered a non-conformance. And each business has their own definition of each of those. But a non-conformance is usually something that is on a product that comes in and it just didn't meet inspections, or maybe the product is already out in the field and the handle fell off or something like that, then that could be a non-conformance also. Um, so a non-conformance is needs to be handled. We need to make sure we track all of our non-conformances. It could also be associated to a complaint too, and we want to be able to make sure we tie those all together. Also, we want to make sure we get enough information on this non-conformance and the right people are aware of this non-conformance. We have a solution in which it lines all that up for you, and it also incorporates, process steps so that that nonconformance takes a certain process to resolve, and you want to make sure that you've got all the information associated to it that needs to be associated to it, and that each step and within that process gets completed before it goes on to the next step, so that it doesn't accidentally get closed out or fall through the cracks and not get resolved at all. And some of those nonconformances may end up needing to go to a CAPA, but we don't want all of those to go to a CAPA. We just want a select few of those to go to a CAPA. So we could put it through a CAPA request to make sure that it should go through a CAPA. Or if this is something that, that definitely has to go through a CAPA, we don't want to take time and put it through a CAPA request, we'll send it directly to CAPA. You need to be able to have those tracks. And then once it goes into a CAPA, you have to have a process in place. And this process has got to be something that is standardized across your organization. It's got to be something that everybody is aware of and how it's handled. So we have a solution that you can obviously design your own templates and have a process for certain types of CAPAs, but it's loosely based on 8D so that there is a standardized process within the whole organization. Um, so that everyone knows, okay, this is in CAPA, we're organizing a team to resolve this, and then we're going to go through our 5 whys or our fishbone or however we're going to resolve it. And then we're going to also make sure the MOE is correct and that, hey, yeah, this is an effective fix for this, and this is how we're going to fix it. So, and all of this has to be trackable. It has to be traceable, because when you're audited and they dig in and they're like, hey, how did this happen? You want to be able to pull that up and bring it and show them this is exactly how we did it. This is what we thought was wrong with it. This is how we tested it. Here's our V&V, and here's our completion on that. And anything that would needed to be changed, such as SOPs and so on and so forth, is all tracked, and here is how it all went through that change control. And all of this that we're gathering as we go through ends up becoming what we call quality intelligence. And the only way we can prevent something else from happening is to have some knowledge and know-how of what's happened in the past, and so that we can now prevent this, so that we're not repeating the same mistakes over and over again. I always like it when customers tell me, yeah, we get our CAPAs done right away because we've probably already solved that same CAPA 5 other times. It's like, well, okay, is that really what the objective here was? Probably not so much so. Probably want to just solve a CAPA one time and be over with it. Well, if we don't have any sort of way of gathering those intelligence or gathering that data, we can't make intelligent decisions. We cannot make sure that we're preventing us from doing that again or understanding that again. So we have a way of doing an issue analysis and intelligent gathering, and then making sure that we can put this like on a very high level dashboard so that anyone can go in and look at it and see, hey, this is what's going on. This is, we've had this non-conformance before, or we've had it 4 other times, and this is the way we're solving it. We can use the product as is, or however it is. Or you know what, maybe we've had this complaint come in a couple of times. Maybe it's time to look at these wires or the batteries, or whatever it happens to be at that point in time. And then there's always those wonderful audits, which are getting better in the medical device world. Um, but we want to make sure that we have a tool in place so that we can plan those audits, that we can understand what happened within those audits, and that we actually did follow up on everything and we closed out on the audits. And we want to make sure that this is something that's very trackable and traceable, and that everybody within the organization can understand and get involved in when they need to be involved. And if anything happened in those audits or in our CAPAs in which we needed to make a change to a document, a control document, that is definitely something that we want to make sure that we have a clear understanding of where it's at, what's going on, and what version we're on the document. Because maybe this is a document that's going to end up in our DHF or in our DMR or in our market dossier or someplace else. Maybe it's just a simple marketing document that we need to control because we need to know and have an understanding of what's being said and where it's being said and in which country, so that we're keeping track of everything. So we also have a tool that we call Quality Document Manager, so that you can manage these documents and make sure that you have the right version in the right place. Or if a change is being made to those, make sure that you understand where else that's being used, or who else it's going to affect, or who needs to be trained on it, because that's critical. They need to have an understanding of what has changed and when it has changed. Now, this kind of goes back to what we talked about at the beginning, where we have twins and simulations and modeling and stuff like that. So how can we benefit for that? Well, you got all these tools in your toolbox, from complaint management to CAPAs and non-conformances and so on and so forth. But you know what? Hey, if like you said at the beginning, and I did, preventing these is cheaper than being on defense and trying to fix it after it's already happened. So we also have tools in which you can create a a virtual world for your product. So in this example here, they're showing us a stent within the coronary artery. And I want to know how my stent's going to perform in that coronary artery once I put it in. So I need to have the heart beating and showing, I'm not sure why it's not doing that, and showing us how it's going to perform. How is it going to collapse? Is it going to, should we overextend it or should we underexpand it? Or, should we maybe make the footprint a little bit larger, or maybe use a different type of metals because we're going to be using this in the left main, or something of that nature. We need to have that understanding. We also want to be able to model different types of hearts. We want to be able to model a heart that's in heart failure, or we want to be able to model, other types of diseases within the heart, maybe a calcified lesion and how it's going to expand there. You can do all that if you start building your virtual twins, and then you're able to sample it and see how it'll perform, and then you're able to figure out, how I'm going to solve those CAPAs. Another tool that you may want to incorporate, and it's not is widely used in the medical device world as it is in some industry is what we called FMEA, which is a failure modes and effective analysis modes. And this is it's not a risk management tool, but it is a way to incorporate some sort of hazards and risk control right at the beginning in your designs. And there's DFMEAs, there's PFMEAs, and so on and so forth. So there's another tool that you can bring into your toolbox here to help you with that whole process of managing different risks and hazards that could happen with your product at the early stages. And it's FMEA is slightly different in its scope and purpose. The basis of FMEA is more to design failure modes right off the bat. FMEA is a tool only about failures, not more about the hazards or other risks. So you're going to need other tools in your toolbox, but it's definitely a way of enhancing those tools that you have. So hopefully, I know I spoke very quickly and we went very high level, but this is how we're trying to bring the virtual world into the real world and make that extension and bridge that gap because we know that in that virtual world, there's all kinds of ways that we can look at it and look at our products and test our products. So we can take our products to the next level and design something incredibly innovative because we are able to learn from our virtual world to make those improvements in our real world. So that would bring us to the point in which we're preventing these adverse events or we're preventing these non-conformances or complaints instead of reacting to them, which makes us better to innovate faster and easier and streamline that whole process and ultimately get to market with the most innovative product possible with the highest quality embedded right in it. It's part of that whole continuous improvement closed quality loop, however marketing term you want to use, but it's part of all that. We've got to kind of think of it in that sense that we have to have this virtual world to test everything in order to make it better in the real world. So again, I covered a lot of stuff, went pretty fast, but now I'm going to turn it over to Michael so that he can continue to have you drinking out of the fire hose with a little bit more information on how all this can be tied together.
Thank you, Darcy. Great presentation, very insightful. I'll take it from here with just another 5 minutes, and then we'll move to the Q&A. A few questions have already come in, so please continue to type them, and at the end here, in closing, I'll moderate them. So Persistent Systems is a global company. We've been in business for over 30 years. I'm in the U.S. where we have 5 locations. I'll give the short and sweet version of the About Persistent and how it relates to what we've discussed today. We have 3 areas of core business focus: financial, medical, and industrial. For today's discussion, we are covering the industrial side of medical device. Just know that the medical industry, period, is one of the largest business segments. I'll try and paint you a picture of what we do. If you can imagine an area of a building or a house that might have a wall of tiles, if each of those tiles represented a software platform or a business system, Persistent would be similar to the grout in between. We bring all the different platforms and software systems together through technology and integration. We have 10,000 employees worldwide. We're a powerhouse of developers. For the industrial segment alone, there are over 1,000 of us. Our industrial segments address 4 key areas that you see here that covers PLM, ALM, lots of development, Red Hat, cloud, security, artificial intelligence, IoT, managed services for all, and much more. It's way too large of a list to read all here. Persistent is mainly service focused. We sell software solutions such as Dassault. In most cases that leads our services. It just so happens some of our biggest customers also happen to be our biggest partners. We're here with Dassault today. Not only is Dassault one of our largest customers, but we're also their partner in representing their software solutions and services. You can see the others as well. All our alliances are important and they all connect, thus my grout example. This persistent digital mosaic points to our industrial offerings. Darcy talked about adapting digitalization solutions in times such as now. Sometimes we'll help customers with only one area while growing into a trust. Our goals, however, are to help establish a partnership with business strategy. We want you to have greater composability, speed to market. Just reimagine your experiences to maximize value at every touch point. And we do that leveraging real-time data. We'll help you digitalize product, services, and business models that capitalize to your data for a broader ecosystem. We can help you establish trust across the enterprise with your customers, your supply chain, and beyond by maximizing data security. I'll wrap up here, and hopefully you'll visualize that picture I tried to describe earlier with the tiles and grout. Darcy talked about Dassault applied to quality management in the medical device. We have customers that support this. We integrate Dassault PLM solutions and our code expertise in areas such as regulatory compliance, reporting, ALM, and a lot more. The solutions for today's webinar leverage the Dassault portfolio and the power of connection through the 3D Experience platform. Typically, we can plan a jumpstart, map out a plan to align with your systems in just one day. The half-day session that you see here is working with your team collecting data. The technical team, not sales, will analyze your system's environment, current tools, and document a map of where you are and our recommendations. Since I emphasize technical teams here is the kicker, we would normally charge $900 for a half day just in the data collection portion using our technical team. For attending this webinar today, we're going to waive that entire fee. You will need to take action. Just send Laura an email with the promo code QUALMED. Whether you use it now or later, it doesn't matter. Just send an email to Laura by September 3rd. There are various promotions in place right now for qualifying companies, especially during this crisis, such as the pandemic. We're also getting creative with our financial terms, so don't let cash flow be an issue, in these times. And with that said, that finishes the presentation material, so let's move into the questions and answers. Some have come in, which I'll read. Please type out your questions if you have additional, and I will moderate them. We'll get right through this, and we'll note if we don't get to your questions, if we run out of time, we'll note your name, and we will get back to you one way or another. We are recording this session. So here is a question that came in, and this is probably for you, Darcy. What exactly is FEMA? I am not familiar with it. Can you tell me more about what it does?
So FMEA is a tool that a lot of quality managers use. It's a failure modes and effective analysis tool. It's not something that is going to replace your risk management altogether as defined by ISO 14971, but it is something that, again, that can be used as a tool to help you with it early on. And it's slightly different in its scope and purpose. Basically, it identifies failure modes of your product right off the bat for you within the design.
All right, thank you, Darcy. Another question came in, do I have to buy the entire 3D Experience platform in order to do my work, or can it be purchased little by little? I'll take that one. I'll take the first stab here. These are scalable solutions. You can leverage data from other PLM systems such as Siemens or PTC. You can utilize it at one location. You can give access to others and even include a customer or supplier one by one. You can map out a 30-day plan, or you can plan it out 5 years from simple as collaboration all the way through complete manufacturing execution systems. Hopefully that answers your question. And Darcy, here's another one. I think this may play into some of the things you said. And actually the question is, does this play into our design controls?
Absolutely. So there's full traceability and you're within these solutions or these roles or however you want to call them that you're doing, plus you're on a platform, so all the information is right there. So any of the changes that happen from, say, a CAPA, and you have a change in an SOP that's part of manufacturing, that definitely is going to be attached and associated right with your DMR as well as your DHF.
Okay. Another question came in, is the solution available on cloud, or do I have to run it on my servers in my office? And I'll take that one. It can start out on the cloud. It can be moved on site to the server if you wish. There's positives and with both. Every company is a little bit different, and what is best suited. Those are the type of things that we really have to have a deep dive technical level discussion. So I can I've noted your name here on this, so I'll take that one involving a follow-up just to kind of a little bit more details, and we can kind of dig into that. Those are some of the things that during, a half day the technical teams can actually review. And I only see one more question here, and I think this one's definitely to me here, Darcy. It says, what do I really get with the half-day event? And I'll answer that, kind of by telling you what you won't get. You won't get a sales guy coming out and giving you PowerPoints. You'll get technical teams that are working with you that will go through your, questions involving what you want to see in the future, what the KPIs look like, what some of the challenges of the industry look like, the tools that you have in place, how we can integrate some of them and take it either step by step, or a long-term strategy. So that is entirely technical people. That does not have salespeople. Obviously, there will be sales engagement, but it is, literally a technical session. And I don't see any other questions here, Darcy, so I think that's going to conclude our session for today. So for anybody that's on the call, please remember, send that promo code QUALMED to Laura Gorvakovic. That will give you an option for a half day of a technical assessment at no charge. That's a $900 value. Thank you, Darcy and Dassault Systems. Thanks again to all of you who attended. This session is of quality management for medical device in today's new world. Thank you, and goodbye now.